Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Red Hour, a show I do twice a week where I throw a little bit of chaos into Star Trek by talking about a random episode. So, I got a new chair that I found. It's really bouncy, and it's pretty cool. I like it. It puts me a little closer to the mic, uh, so I'm a little higher up than I was before, and I can adjust it, go lower, go higher, whatever. Anyway, that's neither here nor there and really doesn't have anything to do with anything. But, all right, so today's show is from Deep Space Nine called season 5, episode 23, called Blaze of Glory. And it starts off with in Cisco's quarters, and he's joined by Jake and Nog, who are eating dinner together. And it's really bouncy. Um, and he's eating squid, which or Nog likes. It's one of the human delicacies that he likes. And then they're eating something else, and it turns out to be grub worms, which is something the Ferengis eat. And Jake spits it out because he didn't know at first. And Cisco says that it's only fair that we try some of Nog's food. So then and then they're talking about Cisco asks Nog how he likes his new security position because he's now joined Starfleet and is part of the security on the station. At least the Starfleet part. So he says it's fine, and Jake says that's not what you told me. And Cisco asks him what he's talking about, and he complains about the Klingons, how they're not very orderly, they disrupt everything, and they don't take him seriously. Well, Jake mentions that they don't respect him in particular. It's not all Starfleet, it's really just Nog. Because of his stature and whatnot. So then, speaking of Klingons, General Martok shows up, and Jake and Nog leave, and he tells Cisco that his men had intercepted a communication from the Marquis, and it's a communication to Eddington. Well, the lady says Michael, but we all know it's Eddington. It's Michael Eddington. And she's sending a message saying that they have launched missiles to Cardassia. And Cisco asks Martok if he had found any missiles, and he says no. And then he explains that the Klingons at one point were helping the Marquis by giving them cloaking devices, which they assumed would be put on their ships. But they think maybe the missiles are cloaked. And if the missiles hit Cardassia, which are under Dominion protection, a war could start up, could break out. So that's the conversation, and that's the teaser. So after the cold open, that's another term that I keep forgetting to use. They usually use it. At least I use it for like Saturday Night Live. That's the cold opening before you go live from New York. Anyway, Jadzia and Worf have been looking for these missiles and can't find them. They're basically out of ideas, and Cisco thinks he knows somebody that can help. And so he goes and visits Eddington, who at this point is in prison. So if you remember, for those who may not know or are watching this later or whatever, or when I'm dead, my family members are watching this. Uh, what had happened was Eddington was Starfleet security on the station for a little while, and then he joined the Maquis and became one of their leaders. And the Maquis is like a resistance group that sort of like the weather underground or something like that. That basically weren't really causing problems too much with the Federation, but more with the Cardassians. And there's already a uneasy relationship with the Cardassians, who, you know, it's basically they're the space Nazis, and the Bajorans are like the Jews or whatever you want to try. That was, I mean, the way I thought of it back in the day was the Cardassians were Israel, and Bajor was like Gaza, but that's not quite right either. Of course, nowadays some people would say that the Cardassians are like Israel, but I think it's more akin to Bajor is the Jews, Cardassians are the Nazis. But anyway, and the Maquis was like the resistance group that caused some trouble for the Federation and Starfleet, but mostly for the Cardassians. And Eddington basically betrayed his oath to Starfleet by doing this, and is now in prison on I forget the name of the station, but it's basically the Upsilon station from Star Trek the Motion Picture, and also the same prop from Star Trek 2 when they go to, when they go to find the Genesis device and Carol. Anyway, he visits Eddington, and Eddington is refusing to help, and he shows Eddington the message, and he says, well, that it could be any Michael. You know, Michael's a common name, and it's just, you know, he's playing around with him, obviously. And Cisco is pretty sure it is Eddington, Michael Eddington, and he says that he needs an abort code. There must be an abort code on the missiles. And Eddington says that you'd have to have a launch site first. So you have no launch site and no code. And Cisco basically wants to try to arrange a pardon for him. And Eddington argues that is the pardon going to bring back the dead Maquis that the Cardassians killed. And you know, just basically refusing to help. He doesn't want to help. He's being stubborn, and he's not giving Cisco any good leads. So then we see Quark, who's being treated by Dr. Bashir in the infirmary, and he says that Morn attacked him with a bar stool, and Odo comes in. Odo and Kira come in, and they are wondering why Morn would do such a thing, because Morn normally just sits there and drinks. And he said he was just talking to Morn, And and they ask what we were talking about, and Quark basically sort of implied heavily that um, he was theorizing that pretty soon the Dominion would assault. There would be a Dominion assault on the station, and they're not going to be safe there anymore, and things like that, to where Morn ran out of the was running around saying we're all doomed, we're all doomed. It's funny because we never hear Morn talk. We only hear what other people say that he said. So then Kira gets a call from Dax Ops to Kira. It's a message from Cisco, and Cisco says that he's going to go into the Badlands himself, and he's going to take a runabout. At first, I thought they were going to take the Defiant, and I almost was going to say the Flyer, the Delta Flyer, because for some reason my brain wanted me to say Delta Flyer, which is Voyager, not Deep Space Nine. Anyway, he's taking the runabout, and he's going to go into the Badlands himself, and he has Eddington with him. So he's basically forcing Eddington to come along. Anyway, so he has him in handcuffs, and Cisco hands Eddington some food, to where Eddington gets into this conversation about replicated food, and how replicated food is just replicated molecules and stuff. It's not real food. It's not grown. I think on Discovery they said it was like recycled poop. But basically, you see in Deep Space Nine, basically if somebody's done with their dishes, they don't wash them. They put them back into the replicator, and the replicator recycles that back into whatever else. So, like I said, it's not real food. It's just replicated molecules. And he tells a story about Thanksgiving on the station one time. Cisco had grown a bunch of food, I guess, on the station, and served the officers, the higher level officers, and that was real food, real tomatoes. And he talks about tomatoes being in the Marquis is when he learned to grow vegetables, and tomatoes are hard because you can have too much rain or not enough rain. And then he just goes on, and then he talks about how since he's been locked up as a prisoner, he's basically considered himself a dead man. And I'm the dead man, but I'm talking about the grateful dead, not actually being dead. Or unalived. Sorry, YouTube. And Cisco says, for a dead man, you sure do talk a lot. And then, basically, like I said, Cisco had dragged him out there and was forcing him to help, which he is still refusing to help at this point. And Eddington talks about the Cardassians killed one of Cisco's friends, which we saw previously. Cal Hudson, who was in Starfleet, and they went to Starfleet together, and then he ended up joining the Marquis. And you can see at this point, Cisco's getting frustrated, and they get into an argument about whose fault it was, and all these things, the morals over the Marquis and the Federation, and how the Federation wasn't the Marquis wasn't really their problem. It was the Cardassians that had the bigger problem. He goes on to try to justify all his actions, and how he's basically not taking responsibility for people's deaths and stuff, of which he was the leader. He should. Um, so there's moral discussions there, and I want to get into that. Hopefully at the end, because I've had arguments about how, okay, about, here we go again, about Starfleet Academy and New Trek and Kurtzman Trek. Let's just say Kurtzman Trek is, uh, I've said to people online and whatnot that old Trek didn't tell you what to think. It made you think, and New Trek Kurtzman Trek tells you what to think. And old Trek oftentimes would present two sides of a moral quandary and let the audience decide what was right or whatever. And people that I've argued with basically say, no, no, it didn't, or or the argument that has been going on uh, was Star Trek's always been woke, which I'm fucking so tired of hearing. But anyway, uh, I wanted to talk about this at the end of the episode, but I'm afraid I'll forget. So I'll go ahead and talk about it now. I, you know, Robert Meyer Burnett has brought up in the past a Private Little War, where there's two sides. There's McCoy and there's Kirk, and McCoy is against arming them. I forget the name of the race. The the Indians, and they're Viet Cong or whatever, and Kirk is saying, I think we should arm them so that they would have a chance to fight against the Klingons. And Gavin Blackburn is here. Hello, Gavin. And I'm gonna get to your comments in just a minute. Because I definitely want to see what you say. You always have good insight, and you're often helping me remember or think of. You're helping me think, sort of like Star Trek. And so, and I apologize for not being here yesterday. Work once again interfered. I will be back again to do a makeup show tomorrow. So anyway, so that's the both sides. There's two different sides presented, and you in the audience can say, I think McCoy is right, or the audience can say, I think Kirk is right. And I think with the Marquis, if you see it a little bit in Voyager, you see a little bit here in Deep Space Nine, and what Deep Space Nine did really smart with Eddington was having him start off as a Starfleet security officer, no doubt, no less, and then becoming Marquis and joining the Marquis. And you could, you know, even at the end of this episode, you kind of see Sisko sort of siding with the Marquis, sort of siding with Eddington. They discuss it at the end. So it's a perfect example of presenting two different ideas and allowing the audience to decide who was right. Because the Marquis is not necessarily the good guys. They're, would be considered terrorists. But at the same time, who are they being terrorists towards? The Cardassians. And 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 Eddington, makes this argument, and I think there are at times where you could sympathize with them. You could say, yeah, well, Starfleet's Starfleet's not exactly in the right here either, So I just wanted to get that out because I'm tired of hearing how, and the writers they weren't preachy about it. Um, so I'm tired of hearing about how it was Star Trek was always woke and always presented you uh, the right side of things, and it's like that's not true. And here's a perfect fucking example. Shut up. Anyway, Gavin says hello. He says Kurtzman era is dead, dead, dead. Yeah. Look. The sets went down, so it's. I guess it's dead. I guess we're done. I guess our fucking nightmare is finally over. Now let's hope they make our dreams come true by making good Star Trek. Maybe that United show will happen. I know our admiral is on the case. Uh, McCoy was pro Mugatu, yeah. Uh, Academy was she holy for 2 minutes in the first episode. Then we don't see her until She-Hulk. Are you trying to say She-Hulk? Yeah, episode 9, and then are meant to care about her? Question mark. Uh, she is the leader of the huge evil group, but nobody knew. I think that's what they were going with. I guess. Maybe that's in season 2 that nobody, even less people are going to watch now. Um, Same old writing problems. Yeah. And we can talk about that. But I want to get through this episode. The writing is coming from people that I guess have no life experience or didn't serve in the military or just fucking Hollywood weirdos that don't, you know, they were all gay and shamed in the Midwest or something. Who fucking knows? Daddy issues. Who fucking knows? Uh, and I guess, well, this isn't Star Trek, but I guess Marsha Lucas said in an interview that the people writing Star Wars don't know shit about Star Wars. I'm wondering now that it's all over, said and done, are we gonna get somebody from like Rick Berman or I think, well, Rick Berman, I guess already did criticize the writing, and how they all talk like modern day teenagers and shit. So, and I guess I'm guessing we're going to get a similar version of that. Like they don't know shit about Star Trek. They don't know what they're fucking talking about. Blah blah blah. And I long for the day. Just like I longed for the day that Kurtzman would be gone, and it finally happened. Anyway, where was the? I got lost. So, so in the on Quark's bar, we see Klingons butting heads, and Nog is just waiting to arrest them. He wants to arrest them for, what does he say? Disturbing the peace. He's counting the decibels of how loud they are, because once they get to 70 decibels, he can arrest them, and then they finally do, and he's rocking back and forth like I am. He kind of has his feet kicked back and stuff, and falls over, so before he can arrest Martok. So, and he tells Jake to not help him up until everybody's gone, because he's embarrassed. So anyway, then we are back on the runabout, or is it a runabout or is it? I get confused because can the Defiant fit a runabout? I think they have a runabout. Anyway, they arrive to the Badlands, and there's two Jem'Hadar ships approaching, and Eddington is talking about how they're going to get out of this one, and Sisko unlocks his handcuffs and says, "You're going to get us out of this." And he goes to make a Raktuchino, which I probably didn't say that right, but whatever. And Eddington is getting a little nervous now because Sisko's sort of sitting back with a smile on his face, and Sisko tells him he wants to test how far this Death Wish goes, and he basically finally takes the helm, and he plots a spiral course that he believes will throw them off the warp signature. And he says that he'll help Sisko find this the launching site, and he'll help him stop the missiles. But at the end, he wants to fight him. Basically, wants to kill him. And then we see the same ships track him down again, and this time Eddington comes up with a plan that he says Sisko won't like. They have to realign the impulse engines, impulse flow regulators. Jesus. No wonder they have a hard time, the actors, just saying, I mean, that's simple shit. We have to realign the impulse flow regulators. No wonder they had problems saying things like that. And the plan is to detonate the plasma. And Sisko talks about how they have to completely shut down the engines to do that, and he says, "No, you don't." And he tells Sisko that he's going to have to do it while Eddington pilots the runabout. So Sisko goes into the back to unplug and plug in some wires, for lack of a better term. And he tells Eddington that he has to keep the runabout steady in order to do what they need to do. And then there's a little bit of bump, a little bit of turbulence, and he says that they ran into a pocket of boron gas. Then the Jem'Hadar ships shoot at the runabout, and they ignite the gas, and Eddington says that there's no sign of Jem'Hadar, and Sisko's not replying, and Eddington is looking around, and he's calling for Sisko, and then finally Sisko grabs him and shakes him around. And what was the show that he was in? Hawk, he shakes him up, and then he says, "I told you to keep it steady." And he's kind of pissed off because he bumped his head too. All right, so then back on the station, Jake is talking to Nog and basically telling him that he needs to check in, because they're sharing, their roommates, that he needs to check in with him to see if he's got a girl. And I'm thinking, what happened to the old sock thing where you put a sock on the door and that tells you that you have a girl over? I mean, they still have socks in the 24th century, right? I know that they do because we've seen them. And he said, and then Nog's like, "Well, you hardly ever get past first base. It doesn't say that, but that's basically what it is. And then there's some Klingons loitering in the spot where Jake and Nog used to stand and watch, and Odo used to get on to them about loitering themselves. I think it was even in the first episode. It was established that um, that was their spot. So he goes up to Martok and tells him that he's loitering, and that if he doesn't move along, he's going to have to arrest him. To which Martok laughs in his face and continues and says that he'll stand wherever he wants to. And Nog stands firm and, basically he doesn't take that shit. And the whole point was earlier, I forgot to mention that Sisko had told him that you just have to stand up to the Klingons and then they'll back down and they'll respect you. And so he does that, and Martok says that courage comes in any size. And Jake is proud of Nog. So then back on the runabout, we see that they have arrived at Athos 4, and the sensors can't detect anything, to which Sisko replies that would make for a good base, a good hiding spot, and Eddington says we thought so too. And they have to land the runabout, and they go through these tunnels because they can't beam down. There's too much interference. So they go, and the one thing that rewatching this, I was like, I wish we could have seen what the planet actually looks like. You just see the atmosphere, which is like this gray, like foggy atmosphere. I wish we could have seen the planet as a whole. That's just one of my things. Like, I like stuff like that, establishing shots that are. You see it a lot in Interstellar, I guess, if you know what I mean. Where was it? Oh yeah, they go through some tunnels, and Sisko notes that they're man-made tunnels, and Eddington says yes, he dug some of them himself. And then we see some Jem'Hadar that are there, and the Jem'Hadar see them, and a shootout ensues. And so then Sisko says, Eddington comes up with some kind of stupid plan. I forget what it was. It was something that Sisko says is too risky because he needs Eddington alive, so they can stop the missiles. And Sisko says he'll go around back and distract them, and he grabs a pipe, and he says that it could be worse, could be you, and so Sisko sneaks up on the Jem'Hadar, whacks one with the pipe, and then struggles with the other one, and eventually knocks the other one. Sisko gets knocked on the ground, and Eddington has to shoot, and there's a lot of fog, and he can't really see well, so he shoots the Jem'Hadar. Then he tells Sisko says that he was a really good shot, and Eddington says that he was just waiting to see who the last person to stand would be, and then he would shoot that person. Then they come around a corner, and Eddington sees one of his friends, marquee friends, that are dead. Then we see another room with another big group of marquee, dead marquee, and he is upset over this and says that he's failed them as a leader and that this wasn't supposed to happen. Uh, Cisco says that there's nothing we can do about them to help them. It's too late now. He even laments that maybe Starfleet had failed in some capacity. And Cisco says that we have to go. We have a mission to complete. And then we see more Jem'Hadar approaching. And then we get to a room where that opens up, and there's a group of Maquis in there, and we see the lady that was in the message earlier, and it turns out it's Eddington's wife, and they're alive. So there's a group that's alive. Cisco says, "Well, what about the missiles?" And Eddington says, "Look around. Does this look like a launching base?" And basically, it was just a ploy to get. The message was like code that they had made it to this base, and it was just a ploy to get Cisco to help them evacuate. To which Cisco is pissed off and punches Eddington. He says he doesn't like being lied to, and then he says that if he'd have told, first of all, he says, what if you hadn't come along? What if I hadn't made you come along? He says I would have volunteered. Then he says, if you should have told me, I could have had, backup. And he says that he wasn't expecting the Jem'Hadar. That wasn't, that they weren't supposed to be there. So then we see more Jem'Hadar show up, and then there's another shootout, and it's not going well for them. To which Cisco says, "I think it's a good time to fall back," and Eddington agrees. And as they're about to leave, Eddington gets shot, and he says to go on ahead and get the rest of them out of there, and I'll keep them at bay for now. So basically, he's sacrificing himself. He's a dead man. Remember, he said earlier, and he's a dead man, and I'm a dead man, but I'm a different kind of dead man. Again, foreshadowing, a term that was used last time. And he stays behind to save the others, and Cisco goes and helps the rest of them escape, and he tells Eddington's wife that Eddington was staying behind. He's not coming with them, and basically he falls to his death. Hence the title Blaze of Glory. He goes out in the blaze of glory, saving his wife and the rest of his Maquis companions. Back on the station, Nog has found Kira's earring clip, and we see Martok. He says, "Good morning, cadet," to Nog, showing respect to Nog now. And then at the end, Cisco and Dax, again, what I was talking about before about the morality of the morality of the Maquis, and presenting two different sides of a moral argument to where they're talking about how he, in a way, was loyal to the end. He was Maquis all the way to the end. Dax says to Cisco, "It seems like you're sort of rooting them on," and they're questioning whether there are more Maquis out there just waiting to attack. There are more Maquis out there. They're just out in the Delta Quadrant, and they're fighting amongst each other. You have Siska, which I thought was for Voyager was a great character. I wish she would have stuck around a little bit longer. So I gave this a 7.5 out of 10. What's great about it is that discussion, all this, the dialogue between Sisko and Eddington, where they once worked side by side. Sisko was once his superior officer, and just that dynamic between the two, how Sisko feels betrayed by him, and then in the end came to respect him in a weird way. He respected his friend Cal Hudson, who ended up dying at the hands of the Cardassians, and there's just that moral argument is like, are they really bad? Should the Federation, should Starfleet really give a shit if they're going out and messing with the Kardashians? Like, who cares? It's like, who cares? It's sort of like the situation we are in. Not to get too political, but like, who cares uh, if the if Israel is like bombing terrorists in Iran? Like, why not? Just look the other way. That's what Eddington was trying to say to Sisko, and Sisko was just sort of he was just kind of like hurt about the whole situation, which is also understandable, and also could see his side of things, and that we can't just let you just do whatever, even though it hurts the Cardassians. But we have, at that point, it's like we have this uneasy, not alliance, but, we're trying to help Bajor. We're trying to prevent outright war from breaking out, because we don't trust the Dominion. You can't trust the Dominion, and they proved it very early on. And so, to Starfleet, the Marquis is sort of like it's like go away, go away. It's like the critical drink. Go away now. Like, go away. Do your thing. At some other time, we don't need you flying around messing things up right now. And there's a lot of discussions throughout Deep Space Nine about Starfleet and their perfect little world, and I think Eddington mentions that in another episode. Your perfect little world where everything's perfect, and there's no hunger, there's no war, there's no humanity has evolved, but then has it, and stuff like that. And so I like this episode for those discussions. I always liked Eddington. I liked him when he was Starfleet. I liked their discussions, and I thought the B plot was kind of funny. Nog trying to get respect from Klingons. Gavin is saying he grew his own tomatoes. Yeah, that the food replicator story, the difference between replicated food and real food, that discussion was really good too. And that has nothing to do with politics or anything. It's just food, But then I wonder, did Sisko at that Thanksgiving, did he have his own turkey that he had to kill? Or was it replicated turkey? Or did he go out and find a turkey, a meat market that sells turkey? Or do they not even eat turkey because that's some... because I'm an environmentalist or some gay shit. What else does Gavin say? She-Hulk was just misunderstood, and now we are all friend, and all the murders and robbery instantly forgiven for a cozy, feel-good ending. It's this is not the first time Kurtzman has had these kind of less let's um, let's sweep massive felonies under the rug because we're all friends and lovey dovey and you know compare that compare that Starfleet Academy and what you just talked about, Gavin, and this episode where Cisco is holding on to shit. He's not letting shit go. He's Eddington is not taking responsibility for the things that he's done in the beginning. And then later on you see this arc where he saves them. He gets shot and dies to save them, and is taking on responsibility in his own way. And there are stakes, there are consequences. Um, Eddington was in prison, whereas Gaten or Caleb, sorry, is is supposed to be like in prison or something, and is put into Starfleet Academy instead. That was like his choice, like his two choices or whatever, and then immediately that's forgotten about, and we're not worried about that anymore. Even though they do pranks and they do other shit that should get them like expelled, and they're constantly like, oh no, no, it's okay, we'll let it go, and you just have to do a bunch of fucking mop the floors and shit. Whereas in this, there are consequences. He was in prison. He stayed in prison. Cisco didn't let shit go. Cisco threw things back in his face. Yeah, you're responsible for these people's deaths. You're responsible for this, and you're responsible for these missiles, which turned out weren't real, but he didn't know that. Uh, and the Marquis arc is about consequences. They took the fight to a far more powerful enemy, and because the writing was so good, there was no miracle. They all got wiped out. Cisco even warned them. Uh, that's another thing is the Cardassians were a much bigger force, and you have all these people. They want to be the resistance fighters. Well, good luck with that. Good luck. Good luck with your resistance. Don't. But innocent people got killed. That's the thing. It's innocent people that had nothing to do with it got killed, and so they have blood on their hands too. So as much as I say you could see their side of things. You could, but at the same time, you're washing over innocent blood. So, you know, uh, a lot of those people think they're in the right at the time, and then something goes wrong. You can't account for. He didn't account for the Jem'Hadar being there. You can't account for everything. You know, we don't want a bunch of M5s running around, uh, doing calculations for us. But we also don't want to not be responsible ourselves. So anyway, yeah, I mean, look at the amount of thought provoking stuff that is just coming from me doing a review of this episode, and it's like all off the cuff, you know. I didn't write all this. I didn't write this down. Only thing I wrote was the notes of what happened in the episode. You don't get that from Kurtzman Trek. You don't get people philosophizing and saying, "Oh, you know, were they do?" You don't get the was Janeway right about Tuvix? You know, even Voyager, who I give Voyager a lot of shit, but there are some episodes that are good, that are thought provoking and whatnot. Anyway, so it's been about an hour. These past few weeks, like every episode's like an hour. I guess because I have more to say about them, or somebody says something in this chat that it gets me to talking. I don't talk much in real life, like out in public. I'm not a talker, unless you want to talk Star Trek, but nobody does, which is why I'm doing this show, because I don't have friends. I have friends, but they don't watch Star Trek. Okay, so still on Blaze of Glory. Going now. I wish that song would have played at the end while Eddington's like lying there. Anyway, because it was already out at the time, so they probably couldn't afford it. It probably would have been cheap sounding, you know. Anyway, I just had to mention Voyager, didn't I? Didn't I? So, Voyager, season 1, episode 1, Caretaker. And I'm pretty damn sure I have not reviewed Caretaker, because I haven't watched that episode in a long time. Nope. So Caretaker it is. So I'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to review and talk about Caretaker. And then hopefully I'll be back to my regular schedule Wednesdays and Thursdays. I hope. But my job seems to not want me to be off on Wednesdays. It's like every other Wednesday. That's the only time I can really have time to do these. But anyway, thanks for stopping by, Gavin, and maybe I'll see you in Admiral Teague's stream tonight. And thanks for anybody that's lurking, and thanks for anybody that watches this in the future. I'll be back tomorrow for Caretaker, and then hopefully back to normal Wednesdays and Thursdays. Michelle Fairy Tales just popped in and says, I like Caretaker more than Academy. Yeah, I mean, that's a given. I like the turd that I took earlier more than Academy. What was I gonna say? Oh, did anybody see that Red Letter Media had said that it only got like Starfleet Academy only got 400,000 views? I guess Mike from Red Letter Media knows a guy in Hollywood or something that worked on the show or something. I don't remember what exact, but it only got 40,000 views per episode. I mean, compare that to, I don't know, Nerdrotic or whatever. I think, or uh, what was it, that the Nerdrotic stream where he had the Spock in the chair? I didn't see it. That would have been. I wish I'd have seen that. Uh, is 400,000 views a lot? For my, it depends on perspective. Okay, so if it was this channel, that would be a lot. But for a show, it it should be more than that. You know, I mean, Star Trek. In how many? I mean, how many viewers did it have during the '90s? You know, during the peak TNG, how many viewers did it have? Now, granted, some people have moved on from this world, but I guarantee you it had more than 400,000 viewers, or it would have been yanked off the air. Which it didn't. It wasn't until Enterprise came along, and you had to get like syndicated and stuff too. That was the other thing. You had to get, I think it's like 90 something episodes to be syndicated and stuff. And, so, and they don't air it on CBS. That's the other thing. There's plenty of things that air on CBS, like all those cop shows and stuff, and people watch that shit. It hasn't gotten yanked off the air, but they don't air Star Trek. And that's a big problem, I think. But, I mean, a lot of people are dropping from cable anyway, but it's also not getting them Paramount Plus subscribers either. People aren't subscribing to Paramount Plus because they want to watch Star Trek. It may be because of Yellowstone, or maybe the Landman, or whatever. God, Taylor Sheridan shows, or that one with Stallone, So I mean, people. So yeah, 400,000 views for me would be great, but it's not good in perspective of TV audience. What else? And Michelle Ferry tells us, if it was good, it would have millions of views. Yeah, if it was good, it would have millions. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I took a long time to say that same exact thing, but yes, it wasn't well advertised. No, it wasn't. It had a lot of competition. The bus was late. Yeah. I mean, I don't think the Acolyte got that much either, right? The Acolyte. Acolyte. Yeah, I mean, it was, this one got a season 2 because it was already grandfathered. Like, I think they filmed it back to back, and it was already like part of the contract. But really, and I think they have to air it. But that's it. It's done after this. They tore down the sets. They tore down the sets of Strange New Worlds. They're done. It's over. Kurtzman is gone. So let's hope for Star Trek United. I'm rooting for Sussman. I'm rooting for Admiral Teague to get that going. We're a small community, but I think we might be able to make it happen. Anyway, have a good night, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow, like I said, to make up for yesterday. Same time. thanks for stopping by, Michelle Fairy Tales and